All right, let's deep dive what went on around the NFL and how it pertains to the Patriots. Here with the guys, Phil Perry joining us now. Phil, do you feel better or worse about the Patriots' chances next year after watching the playoffs this week?
Can I answer both ways?
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to say I feel better in some ways because none of those teams, especially in the AFC, that's where I'm focused. Those AFC games, which of those teams looked unbeatable?
None.
Zero, right?
Not even the Bills
continue to have their issues. The Bengals scored 24 points. Joe Burrow just sort of had a workman-like type performance, didn't light the world on fire. Now, the reason I don't feel good about the Patriots moving forward, Ted, is 2 of the 3 AFC games we watched were played in the 30s. And we haven't seen the Patriots offense come anything close to that really since, I don't know, the Jaguars game of last year.
Yeah, and the 2 of the teams you're talking about, the Dolphins and the Bills, those are the 2 teams that I worry about the most in this division. And so when I see, the third-string quarterback for the Miami Dolphins putting up 31 points and Josh Allen turning the ball over 3 times and still putting up 34 points, I know he's, that's what, Josh Allen is going to maybe lose a game for his team, but I look at those 2 teams and I just go, they're just much better than us at this point. And so I didn't look at these playoff games and think, the Patriots are that close. The Patriots, a lot of the kind of the blunders that we showed right there, the Patriots were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
That Las Vegas game wasn't too long ago, Tom.
Yeah, the inability to get plays in on time, we saw it all year long. The inability to execute in the red zone, we saw it all year long. The inability to score, though, Trenni, when we looked and let in and said 21.4 points, which is accurate. That's how many they scored this year per game.
But that includes defensive scoring.
They scored 32 touchdowns, I believe, this year. Might have been 30. But they went into the final game. Yeah, they're 31 touchdowns. So divide that by 16. Offensively, they're scoring less than 2 touchdowns a game. My math has that at 17 and 31.
I don't know. I'm
They
bad at
score
it.
like 11. They score like less than 14 points a game. So that's not.
But you wrote a whole column today about how after you actually feel good after this weekend about the Patriots.
Well, I do because they have an antidote. They're going to come up, and they have found the antidote. It's in a little vial. It's labeled OC, and you just inject it into your veins, and all of a sudden you have somebody who understands the structure of formulating a game plan that knows where your X's go, your O's go to, confound their X's, and you now have an opportunity to maybe score more than 1.8 touchdowns per game, and that will get you back. Plus, it frees Bill Belichick up to help with the quality control that has slipped so drastically.
I would say one thing, too, that was interesting. You saw the way Trevor Lawrence played. I didn't think he had that second half in him, you guys. And so that's kind of, I wasn't, when we were looking at the AFC this year, I wasn't really counting on the Jaguars to be a team that to really be worried about. And now it looks like they are. It looks like they figured it out. I mean, so if I'm a Patriots fan, I'm more worried today. I'm not feeling much better because I look at Miami. Oh my gosh, if Tua stays healthy, what that offense could look like. I mean, the Jets are a quarterback away, and the Bills are the Bills. So I didn't watch this weekend and think, oh yeah, the Patriots are close. To me, they're as far as they've ever been.
I think that's what's tough, Tom, is that you look at some of the rosters around the league and the Patriots rosters just doesn't stack up.
We're going to get into the Jaguars, I think, but I didn't watch Trevor Lawrence's performance on Saturday night and say, Mac Jones can't do that. Nothing he did that night. I don't think Mac Jones.
Dad goes,
four touchdowns in the second half. I mean, he brought his team back down 27.
He had 4 picks in the first half.
I know, but Mac hasn't brought his team back for a win. When's the last time he's brought his team back for a win? I don't know.
When's the last time he threw 4 picks and a half, Phil?
That's fair.
No, listen. I think if you're looking at it big picture, Ted, here, this is how you get into that optimistic zone that we're talking about.
No,
you can't look at the entire conference, okay? You start looking at the entire conference, it looks like a very, very, very large hill to climb. You look at the division, and you look at the Bills, and you say, okay, well, the 2 teams can make it from the division. Okay, so now you're looking at the Dolphins. I'm not going to say they're better than the Dolphins right now. Obviously, they made the playoffs and the Patriots didn't. But the Dolphins fell on their faces at the end of the year. I think Tua Tagovailoa is very limited. I think they might be moving on from Tua Tagovailoa this offseason.
Lamar!
As often as they tell us, he's our guy, he's our guy, he's our guy. They didn't want him about a year ago. And when he was on the field, he did not have a very good second half of the year. So I just look at that team, really, that team specifically, and the Bills. And if you can approach those teams, Trenni, then you're in much better shape.
Well, and guys, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the quarterback, right? Because as we take a look, it is amazing what bringing in some new offensive minds can do for a struggling quarterback. Daniel Jones liberated under the tutelage of Brian Daboll. Joe Judge in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, we've already kind of talked about him, looking like a new man under Doug Peterson. I mean, is it, guys, that simple? Can bringing in, yes, it's that simple. You bring in a new offensive coordinator and suddenly Mac Jones looks like Trevor Lawrence.
Yep. 100%.
Why is that so hard for people to believe? It is hard for people to believe that, though.
He's 10-7. He had 22 touchdowns and however many picks last year. He was Offensive Rookie of the Year. He faded at the end.
But we
of the
don't think
season.
Mac Jones is as good as Trevor Lawrence. Like maybe bringing in a new, he can look as good as Daniel Jones.
Look, Trevor Lawrence, all of them, they're all based on their situation. It's all based on your situation. Trevor Lawrence was Trevor Lawrence because he had Doug Peterson and he's got Zay Jones, and they had a construct to their offense that was working for them against a team that was throwing up all over itself. To me, it's all about the coaching.
And I thought Daniel Jones, I thought he was terrible. I thought he was a bad quarterback. They won 4 games last year. The Giants have won 10 games this year.
It looked awesome on Sunday.
Daniel Jones in that offense, you guys, that was one of the funnest offenses I've seen. I mean, it was up there with Patrick Mahomes. I know it's Daniel Jones, but that day in that game, I saw a really fun, unique offense, Phil. And so you can see what Brian Daboll did for Josh Allen when he was in Buffalo, and now in his first year, what he's doing for Daniel Jones.
You have creative offensive minds that are willing to use the skill sets of their players and adapt to those, right? What those two guys that we're talking about now, Daniel Jones and Trevor Lawrence, what they have that the Patriots really don't right now is the ability to use a quarterback who can run. Right? The Patriots tried to run Mac Jones near the goal line last week, but that's not his game. These other two guys can really do that, and they can really incorporate that, but it really comes back to the coach and being creative and being willing to adapt. I think Trevor Lawrence actually had a halfway decent situation last year. Like, it's not completely the inverse of what Mac Jones and he have dealt with these last 2 seasons. Trevor Lawrence had 2 guys in Brian Schottenheimer and Darrell Bevell who had about 40 years of NFL offensive coaching experience last year for him as a rookie. Mac Jones didn't have that this year. You could argue he had a worse X's and O's situation this year than Lawrence did last year, but it does go to show, Trenni, coaching matters. It matters.
So I asked this question off the top of the show. Is it more than just an offensive coordinator? Like, I've been asking, why aren't we focusing on, should they go out and get a quarterback's coach? Should they go out and get an offensive line coach? Like, should there be changes on other coaching positions on the offense? Because to me, it seems too simple to just change the offensive coordinator. You're shaking your head, yes.
Yes, I'll just jump in real quick, guys, on this one. Yes, the answer is yes. But first you have to identify the system. I know a lot of people want to call it a hybrid and say it's the old Tom Brady system and it's the new Shanahan. I think you are asking for trouble. To me, it's one or the other. It's not a little bit of both. If you're going to do the Shanahan system, you got to do it, baby. And you can't do anything else. If you're going to do the Brady, then just do that. Don't do the new stuff. And so that's what you got to figure out first. And then whatever system you have, then you bring in the coach that's expertise best fits that system. And so that's where you go. And then you get the personnel, because the Shanahan system, the Patriots don't have the best personnel for that type of offense, in my opinion, and that's what they were trying to do, and not surprisingly, it wasn't working out. So identify the system you want, the coach that fits that best system, and then players that are the best suited for that system.
The system, to me, that fits best is one Ted watched closely down in Houston, which was Bill O'Brien's offense, but with Deshaun Watson, guy who could run a lot of RPOs. Yeah. They did a lot of that stuff that they didn't do here in New England, but the language was a Patriots language, Tom, so you can go back to what Mac Jones did his first year, also incorporate some of his Bama stuff. That's what makes the most sense. Bill O'Brien with Doug Marrone as your offensive line coach.
I like that.
Now you've got a mix that could work because those guys have a relationship that goes back decades.
And this is what's interesting about the whole machinations and the feelings and the people you've put into positions. Billy Yates, he's the offensive line coach ostensibly. By the end of the year, Matt Patricia was so over his head with the offense. It was Billy Yates' offensive line. Matt Patricia was dealing with the offense almost exclusively, and not that well.
That happened early. They found that out early.
Right. And Phil was on that early. That's how they shifted it. But here's your situation. Does Billy Yates also get kneecapped? Bill has brought in so many people and convinced them to work for them, worked them to a nub, and then at the end of this year, he's going to have to go to him. Yeah, you're going here, you're going there, and you're going there. And he might, at 71, feel badly about the situations he put him in. So that's why it's hard to hire
the NFL,
friends.
man.
I was going to say, but if you do what's in the best interest of the team, don't you have to sometimes part ways? As difficult as it is.
It was in the best interest of the team to maybe piss off Nick Saban last year and do whatever you could to get Bill O'Brien. But they didn't do it. Might have been in the best interest of the team to put Nick Caley, who's interviewing right now for the offensive coordinator job with the Jets, into that position. But they didn't do it because Bill had feelings that intervened that wouldn't have intervened in 2003 or 2004 or 2005. You think he would ever have not had a successor in place for Romeo Crennel or Charlie Weiss? He wouldn't even do it with Bill O'Brien. He got Josh McDaniels during the playoffs to be successor at offensive coordinator. But at 71, when you have, you have these relationships with people and you put them in spots, now you have compromised yourself because you don't want to make them feel like they screwed up and you put them in a position to fail and then said, yeah, you did fail.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
No, I totally see what you're saying. But it's like mind-blowing to me that you've gotten to this position. I guess that's why.
Don't hire friends like me.
Well, yeah, I guess that's why there's a part of me that isn't convinced that one change is going to change the entire complexion of the team, because you still have all of these sort of, I don't want to call them rotting apples, but that's all I can think of. Like, that's like the analogy I can think of. Miscast pieces that might not be able to raise up the entire
That's
thing.
why I have serious concerns. If it's not a full overhaul, if you're going to bring in a one guy that's forced to work with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge and shoehorn this thing in, and it's a mixture of systems, and it's not the new guys, all his stuff. It's kind of a mix of the old. You're asking for trouble, and guys, I think they're going to be. If you're going to do this thing, go all the way. Don't half-ass this thing.
The most important, though, is offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach, which the Patriots have oftentimes, especially with Josh McDaniels, just incorporated into one job. So usually that's
you can right now.
one person. That's a good question. I'm not 100% sure on that because there are Rooney rules associated with quarterbacks coach right now. I'll get back to you on that. But it's offensive line and offense coordinator / quarterbacks. The other positions, I think you can fill in with capable people. Those are the two most important ones you need to get right.